Should nothing of our efforts stand, no legacy survive, unless the Lord does raise the house in vain, its builders strive. To you who boast tomorrow's gain, tell me, what is your life? A mist that vanishes at dawn, all glory be to Christ.
Welcome to the Open Bible Podcast. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'm Pastor Jeremy, and along with Ethan Jones, we've been looking at Proverbs and taking a proverb a day as we seek to be conformed into the image of Christ through His Word and by His Spirit. And much of my job traffics in words spoken like I'm talking to you now, words written, words read. A typical sermon of mine runs at about 2,200 words, and I read about 12,000 words to prep for a sermon a week. A podcast like this is around 750 words, and then there's update emails, hospital devotionals, Sunday school classes, meeting with folks. After clearing out the junk, I receive about 10 emails a day that require reading, and I probably send out 6 to 8 emails a day. As for texts, I probably get close to sending 20 to 30 texts a day, and that's not talking on the phone at all. But this shouldn't sound foreign to you. We're exchanging words more than any other era of history before us. And since there's so many words going around these days, there might not be a more important aspect of our lives than the use of our mouths, our speech. Written, typed, spoken, emojied, or gift. We need wisdom regarding our mouths, with how to use them. And the author of Proverbs knows this. There are more proverbs concerning speech or our words than any other topic. And we've brushed on this a little bit already, but we have a large concentration in our current chapter, Proverbs 12, that deals with this. And so we're going to find 3 reasons why our mouths or our speech matter. Let's read. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. A good man obtains favor from the Lord, but a man of evil devices he condemns. No one is established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will never be moved. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are just, the counsels of the wicked are deceitful. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright delivers them. The wicked are overthrown and are no more, but the house of the righteous will stand. A man is commended according to his good sense, but one of twisted mind is despised. Better to be lowly and have a servant than to play the great man and lack bread. Whoever is righteous has regard for the life of his beast, but the mercy of the wicked is cruel. Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense. Whoever is wicked covets the spoil of evildoers, but the root of the righteous bears fruit. An evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips, but the righteous escapes from trouble. From the fruit of his mouth a man is satisfied with good, and the work of a man's hand comes back to him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. The vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. Whoever speaks the truth gives honest evidence, but a false witness utters deceit. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of those who devise evil, but those who plan peace have joy. No ill befalls the righteous, but the wicked are filled with trouble. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are His delight. A prudent man conceals knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly. The hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. One who is righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Whoever is slothful will not roast his game, but the diligent man will get precious wealth. In the path of righteousness is life, and in its pathway there is no death. Let's remember that wisdom, as it's described here in Proverbs, is living by faith according to God's character and order. It begins and ends with Him. And folly is living according to my character and order. The first reason our mouths matter is because they affect us. They affect us and others. They may seem light and insignificant, but they bring about tangible results. Fruit. Verse 13, an evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips, but the righteous escapes from trouble. From the fruit of his mouth a man is satisfied with good, and the work of a man's hand comes back to him. Our words can trap us or help us escape being trapped. And verse 14 describes how just as good work produces good rewards, so too does good speech. Speaking is a form of doing, whether trapping oneself, escaping, or producing fruit. And in verse 17, we see that there is speech that intentionally pursues righteousness or intentionally misleads from righteousness. And this is intentional false speech. But there's another type of speech that we might be more familiar with in verse 18. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Rather than intentional false speech, this is the result of unintentional, reckless speech. Our mouths matter because they can pierce like a sword. Even unintentionally, they can cause extreme damage and pain. And this is contrasted with using our mouths to bring healing, bringing restoration in someone's life. Our words are rarely neutral. They can wound or heal. In college, I remember the shock of being confronted with how words that I had spoken in jest, as a joke, had really hurt someone. It opened my eyes a bit to the fact that our mouths matter because they affect us and others. There's very real power in the words you speak, in the thoughts you type. There are very real effects, fruit that can poison, that can trap, and even be deadly, or fruit that can free, can heal, can restore. Do you understand and recognize the power the words you speak have? But not only is there power in the words that come from our mouths, but there's also power in the words that don't come from our mouths. Listen to verses 15 and 16. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. The vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. The fool, on the one hand, thinks he's got it all together. He does it his own way. Nobody can tell him otherwise. He is easily provoked. Then we have one who is wise, and he not only listens and accepts advice, but he also doesn't react when provoked. He holds his tongue when insulted. This is tough, isn't it? Listening. Holding our tongue when we've been wronged, when we're justified even. The effects of our mouths not only pertain to the words we say, but the words we could say and don't. There's incredible power in the words you speak, but there's also power in the silence you keep. And the second reason our mouths matter is because they expose our hearts. The words reflect our hearts. Our words reflect our hearts. Jesus said as much in Matthew 13. How we use our mouths reveals what is in our hearts. Have you ever been surprised by what's come out of your mouth? I have. Have you ever said, wait, where did that come from? Well, you don't need to wonder. You know the answer. It came from your heart. Our mouths matter because they affect us and others, and our mouths matter because they expose our hearts. And thirdly, our mouths matter because they are evaluated by the Lord. Look at verse 22. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delight. When it comes to your mouth, who determines what is detestable and delightful? You or the Lord? There's a notion that's especially prevalent in our culture that is the right to free speech. It's a cornerstone of democracy. We have the right to say whatever we want. We have the right to say what we're feeling. And tied closely together with freedom of expression. And in fact, much of the ocean of words that we talked about at the beginning are people exercising that right. But listen, when we become Christians, when we trust Jesus with our lives, we surrender our right to free speech. We bring our words, we bring our mouths under the judgment of God's character, with His word, with His will, meaning you no longer have the right to free speech. Instead, you have the freedom to use your mouth the way it was intended to by God, to create, to restore, to heal. So let me encourage you to surrender your speech today. Consider the effects of your mouth. Most division in relationships, in families, doesn't come because of some large immorality. It comes because of words. Words spoken behind someone's back, words shouted at someone's face, words spoken to pierce, words typed on a computer. But division also comes from words withheld, words that should have been spoken. So today, commit to bless someone with your speech. Speak kindness to someone or bless them by your silence. Patiently listen to them. But remember that surrendered speech comes from surrendered hearts. And this is where the work needs to be done. So when you put your foot in your mouth, when you hurt someone with a joke, intentionally or unintentionally, when you pierce someone you love with your words, don't just say sorry. Repent of it. Ask God for the grace to change your heart, which in turn will change your speech. And this is what we need most desperately, new hearts that lead to new mouths by the work of the Spirit. Go in peace.
Glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ.